The Burnout present Dave Meltzer here, Wrestling Observer Radio, November 2nd, 2025, figure4online.com/wrestlingobserver.com. We got a lot of news to talk about here today, including Saturday night's main event, where we do in fact have a new World Heavyweight Champion. CM Punk won the title in the main event, beating Jey Uso, clean in the middle of the ring. They just went back and forth, and CM Punk hit the GTS and pinned him.
I mean, it was a total WWE, pay-per-view main event. You do my big move, you kick out of my big move, back and forth. And then after a couple of times, one guy wins, thought it was a pretty decent match. I thought it was a good match. Actually, I thought it was a really good match.
Well, let's talk about the whole show because there was a lot of news coming out of it, and then we'll get into all of the rest of the stories today.
No Jesse Ventura.
He hasn't been there for a while.
No, he was at the last one.
Was he the last one? He missed one somewhere.
Yeah.
Did he not?
He was the last one. They didn't let him talk. I mean, they just had him open the show.
Yeah, he was just there. And they didn't do it like that. This was a very different Saturday night's main event. This was more just like a PLE. They didn't really run it like they've ran some of the former Saturday night's main events.
Yeah, less commercials and no commercials during the matches. But they were very rushed in the sense of they really wanted to get everything done in 2 hours, and they missed by, I think, 3 minutes. So they weren't rushed off the air, but they very much had that 2-hour mentality. So, you got, you didn't get matches necessarily as long as you'd have gotten if it was on a, well, they weren't as long as if it was on a pay-per-view.
So it opened up with Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre for the WWE title, and the stipulation they added on SmackDown, which actually they had a very good main event segment on SmackDown, where basically Nick Aldis went to both guys before the main event segment. He goes to Cody and he says, "You happy with the contract?" Cody says, "I trust you. Don't worry about it." And he made sure to ask Cody, "You didn't attack Jacob Fatu, did you?" And Cody said, "I know you have to ask, but I didn't attack Jacob Fatu." So they are doing that mystery.
I got a question.
Yeah.
He's going to ask people. Everyone's going to deny it. It's like, why shouldn't you have evidence and not ask the people who didn't do it?
You think so? I mean, but we got to remind everyone of the mystery every week, and someone's going to be a liar.
Yeah, I know, but obviously the person who did it's going to lie.
Yes.
So you don't ask unless you have proof to me, or you have some inkling of evidence or something.
So he goes to Cody, and then he goes to Drew, and he asks Drew if he has any issues, and Drew goes, "No, everything's great." And Aldis does not trust this guy, and Drew says, "You can trust me." So they go out there to sign the contract, and Cody he signs the contract, and then they hand it over to Drew, and Drew goes, "I ain't signing that contract." And Aldis is like, "Oh my God." And Drew says, this is the deck is stacked against me. If I do anything to get disqualified, I don't win the title.
Yes.
And if Cody does anything to get disqualified, I also don't win the title.
Which Cody already did.
So I'm not signing this thing. And Nick Aldis is like, "You know what? I am so sick of your bullshit. You know what? If you don't want to sign this contract, fine. There's 50 guys back there that'll fight to sign this contract. So if you want to do it, I'll go back and I'll get somebody to do it." And so Drew looks at him and he goes, "All right, go find somebody." And he starts to leave. And Cody goes, "Stop. Hold on a second. I know what you're doing here." He goes, "If you want me to put a stipulation in there that this title can change hands via countout or DQ, I'll do it." And so Drew says, "All right." And the only flaw with the thing is Drew signed the contract after Cody agreed, even though it hadn't been written into the contract. He did sign. But anyway, it's wrestling. So he signs the contract. It's official. The title can change hands via countout or DQ. And so before the segment ends, Drew says to Cody something along the lines of, I realize all you do for this company and how you're always on the road and how it is Halloween and how maybe you should be at home with your kids trick-or-treating. What are their names again? And Cody gets pissed off and he attacks this guy and he beats him up and he hits him with the belt, or he goes at him with the belt, and Drew manages to escape. But that's the story of Cody's going to get mad. He's going to do something stupid. He's going to get DQ'd. He's going to lose the title.
Which they sort of teased during the match.
Yeah, they teased that here. Like Cody early in the match stomped on him in the corner all angry, and the ref had to pull him off, and then he shoved the ref and almost got DQ'd. Mm-hmm. And then they did a count-out tease later, which actually was ridiculous because Cody goes to do this dive, or I think Drew might have thrown him over the announce table or something, but whatever happened. Cody, like the second Cody hits his table, the ref's already counting. And the ref's like, 1, 2, 3. Like the fastest count you've ever seen.
I know.
It was preposterous. And this guy has to rush to get back into the ring. And so they told the story throughout the match that he might do something stupid and get disqualified. But in the end, the referee ends up getting bumped. And actually, there was a very clever, I don't know if I would say it was clever, but they were supposed to do a spot where Cody ran up the ropes to do the Cody cutter. But the ref was legitimately in the way. Yeah. And so Cody had to run around this guy, and the timing was all off. And so he just goes down and he grabs his knee. And this was like clearly something Cody came up with because it was all awkward. Because like the ref all of a sudden freaked out. And you could see the ref go over to Cody. And then like Drew's all taken aback and he's kind of worried. And then Cody clearly told him he was okay because like the ref gave the signal. But they went back and they went right back to the spot again. And he hits the spot.
I thought it looked just like a planned spot, like as a spoof of the Seth Rollins thing.
No, because you could see the ref was legitimately in the way, and there was
the ref was in the way, but the spot and the thing is Tiffany Stratton did the same spot in the next match.
Yeah, but there's a difference. Tiffany's knee is injured, so that was the whole point of that one. Yeah. Cody's knee isn't injured, and after they went back to the spot, he never sold his knee again. So I think the ref got in the way and he couldn't get up the ropes fast enough, and so he had to come up with something.
I thought it was just an obvious tease to do a fake knee injury thing to throw everyone off, like, a spoof on the Seth Rollins thing. And just the fact that they did the exact same spot in the exact same way in the next match tells me it's like, two agents that, whatever, they. You
can ask, but I'm pretty sure this ref got in the way. And I also know that because
the ref was in the way for sure, yeah.
And I also think he was in the way because he was supposed to be there to get bumped, but he was there too early.
Yeah.
And so he gets bumped on the second try, and he goes down. And so Drew goes to get the belt, and they have a tug of war over it. And Cody ends up giving him a DDT on the belt, which actually got some boos. It wasn't overwhelming, but there were some people booing. And then the ref woke up, Cody hit the crossroads, got the pin, and the crowd did count along, and they went crazy for the win. So it was just a small portion of the crowd that booed the belt spot. But the whole story here is Drew got screwed again. He can complain about it, even though it was all his fault. He's the guy that brought the belt into the ring. But Cody did cheat, and he did do something that would have got him disqualified. But the ref was down, and so he wasn't disqualified. He retained the title.
Well, we've had spots where you do something like a DDT on the belt, and if the belt is there, the ruling is like the belt was there. You didn't do it on purpose. So they've let that one go before.
Yes, but they very specifically showed that Cody looked for the belt, saw where it was, and then DDT'd him on purpose onto the belt. So this was not an accidental thing. He did it on purpose.
Yeah. Well, this day and age, a babyface should be doing that.
So that was the finish. He retained the title, and it was a good opener.
It was good, man. Yeah, it was good. It was good. I mean, it was, but it was very similar actually to the last match that they did. They've done 2 straight pins, and we still don't have anyone else on the SmackDown side. I mean, I guess you got Lesnar, but that they've really built up for Cody. That's why they went back to Drew after beating Drew. So I don't know what they're going to do. I suppose they could put Lesnar in there for Survivor Series. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen for the men's team in Survivor Series at this point.
Well, we have a few weeks to figure it out. Probably find out a lot more Monday.
Yeah.
So we had Tiffany Stratton and Jade Cargill for the women's title. And so they did an angle when Jade turned heel, she stomped Tiffany's knee. And on SmackDown, Nick Aldis meets with Tiffany, and he basically tells her, you shouldn't be doing this match, and she demands to do the match. They did the same angle here on this show. He gave her another chance. She said, I want to wrestle. And so she comes out with an injured knee. It's all taped up, and Jade immediately goes to work on it. And this was not a squash match, but Jade completely dominated this match. It didn't go long, But
It was a 5-minute match.
she took the match pretty much from start to finish. Tiffany got a spot or two, hit like one senton, but then got killed. And then Jade finally hit the Eye of the Storm, SOS Slam, 2 more SOS Slams, sit out power bomb, 2 more power bombs, and Jaded, and pinned her and won the title. So Jade's a champion after all this time. Much better served as a heel, I think. And
better served keeping the match short too.
yeah. Well, she's a big power wrestler, and so she's better off just getting heat and throwing people around, as opposed to having to be a babyface in peril. So I think she's much better served as a heel, and
in short matches.
Yeah, won the title. So the female Goldberg at this point. Then we had Dominic, Penta, and Rusev for the Intercontinental title, and this was a good match. Really picked up there at the end. I think the thing was that people loved Dominic. They sang his name. They loved Penta. But man, when Rusev had heat, there was just like nobody cared about this guy.
Nobody cares about Rusev.
Did not care about him at all.
He's just there.
They had a funny spot in the middle where Penta ends up selling a knee injury and he goes outside, and Dominic ends up grabbing a chair, and the referee is checking on Penta, and so Dominic throws the chair to Rusev because he's an idiot. And he thinks he's going to have the ref turn around and see the chair and do the Eddie Guerrero spot.
That was like so stupid.
And the ref turns around and goes, "It's a 3-way, you idiot. There's no DQs."
There's no DQ.
Well, now Rusev has a chair and he starts pummeling Dominic with it. So he beats the crap out of this guy. And then Penta makes a big comeback and it's made in Japan on Rusev for 2. And finally, Rusev puts Penta in the Accolade, and the ref's checking on him, and the bell rings. And Rusev starts celebrating like he won the title. But the ref says, I didn't call for the bell. And they cut outside, and Dominic has rang the ring bell. And Rusev goes after him. The hammer ends up in the ring. Penta ends up grabbing the hammer, swings at Dom, but accidentally hits Rusev. Dom then posts Penta, hits the frog splash on Rusev, gets the pin, and retains the title. All these matches were, like, good, but there was, like, nothing great, except for the last couple minutes of the main event. Just kind of a...
It was good.
For a good match show.
Yeah. I mean, it certainly looks like they're keeping up with that angle with Cena and Dom. You know, Dom getting another win and beating Rusev, being the one who beats Rusev and everything like that. So, and they announced the tournament. So it's a 16-man tournament with the winner facing Cena on December 13th, and I believe the tournament starts a week from Monday.
The tournament begins a week from Monday, and there's 16 wrestlers, and they made it very clear there's going to be wrestlers from WWE and maybe even some people who don't work here. Yeah, so that's, of course, to get everybody talking about.
They want to get people to tease the idea that it'll be Adam Copeland, which it will not be.
Or Jericho.
Which it will not be there either, because his contract's not due then. So, I mean, it's going to end up being, Matt Cardona. Or somebody like that. We
had CM Punk and Jey Uso. And by the way, they've got an upcoming long interview with John Cena talking about the end of his career and his final opponent. So they had a preview for that on this show. So then the main event, CM Punk, Jey Uso for the vacant title. And really the first half of this match was like a very slow WWE heavyweight title match. Just going back and forth, and Punk kind of got some heat on him for a while, and just very, very slow going. And then finally at the end, it really picked up. Big striking battle. Jey wipes him out with a dive, spears him through the barricade, goes up top for the big splash, but Punk gets the knee up. He hits the GTS, and Jey kicks out. Jey ends up hitting a GTS of his own. Punk kicks out of that. Punk then hits a spear, kind of. Mm-hmm. That's what they called it for a near fall.
That's what it's supposed to be.
Yeah, he kind of hugged him. Punk hit the GTS.
The idea is, each one does the other one's move. Except Punk didn't do the splash off the top, though.
Punk tried to stand up into a GTS, but it collapsed, and Jey put him in the sleeper. Punk switched to an Anaconda Vice. Punk switched to a Crucifix.
That switch was pretty well done.
And then Jey finally hit the super kicks, goes for a spear. Punk boots him, hits a GTS and another one, and gets the pin. Last few minutes of this match were very good. And no ref bump, no interference, nobody ran in, nobody showed up to distract. Just two baby faces had a match, and one guy beat the other to win the title.
Yeah. So, and no tease of anything,
Yeah, it was weird, because on this entire show, there wasn't a single angle. There was no angle after any matches. There was no angle before any matches. No post-match main event angle. There was just like no angles.
That's what they've been doing on the Saturday's main event, though.
I mean, there's usually at least something. Some tease or something.
Yeah.
It was just 4 matches and 4 finishes.
No, the only news was the Cena announcement.
Yeah.
The tournament. That was pretty much it. And they announced, was it January 23rd and 24th in Montreal, which would be a SmackDown followed by Saturday night's main event. So that would be the week before, probably the week before Royal Rumble, maybe? Or maybe 2 weeks before Royal Rumble?
January 24th, Bell Center.
Yeah.
So SmackDown and then Saturday night's main event. Combo tickets go on sale Friday.
Right. So I think that the 31st, I think, is the Royal Rumble.
So this will be a week prior.
Yeah. Yeah. So they're going to go from, wherever they go to Raw, because they have to do Raw. So they'll do Raw on the 26th, and then they'll all fly out for the Rumble at that point.
All right, so that was Saturday night's main event. We've also got a New Japan show that is going on literally as we speak. We have got Takeshita versus Hiroki Goto for the IWGP title. Which is amazing because he just wrestled on Collision moments ago. We got Yota Tsuji against Hiroshi Tanahashi for the IWGP Global Heavyweight title.
This is Tanahashi's last match in Gifu, which is where he grew up.
And we've got the finals of the Super Junior Tag League, Doki and Sho versus Taiji Ishimori and Robbie X.
Yeah. So they had the match earlier today to determine Doki and Sho had already qualified and won the A block. So the B block final was today. And those guys had a hell of a match. Robbie Eagles and Kosei Fujita, who are like one of the best tag teams, like best 3 tag teams in the world. These guys are great against Robbie X, who had a fantastic match. This tournament and the Super Juniors is really, Robbie X has been around for years and years and years. He's always been good. He's one of those guys who's just never really had the chance to break out from the UK scene, and he's taken advantage of it. But they had a great match today, and earlier in the tournament, Fujita and Robbie Eagles had won. So they were unbeaten going into the finals. And then that was the only loss of Robbie X and Ishimori had only lost that one. So the winner of this would go to the finals. If they went to a draw, then Eagles and Fujita would advance, but they didn't go to a draw. And really good finish, really good last series of moves. It was just great. It was the best match of the tournament from what I was told, but it was probably the best match I've seen today, and I've seen a lot of great matches today.
Royal Rumble, by the way, is January 31st.
Yeah.
All right, the Women's Grand Prix.
Yeah, that was last Friday at Arena Mexico, so I finally watched that one this morning because it was an hour-long match. So it was it's the men's Grand Prix was much, much better, I thought. I know I had seen people who didn't like the men's Grand Prix, but the only thing about the men's Grand Prix was all these fantastic wrestlers out there for 90 minutes. And if you go in with the idea that 90 minutes is too long, then you wouldn't like it. But the crowd was super hot for the whole 90 minutes. And there was some redundancy of moves. But in 90 minutes, there's going to be redundancy of moves. I mean, that's just the reality of it. So I thought that match was fantastic. It's probably not fair to compare because, like, these women are not anywhere near the level as far as wrestlers as the guys in that match were. But on their own, I thought they had a really good match. It dragged at certain points. I mean, going an hour, and it wasn't really spectacular at all. There was some pretty decent storyline stuff. I mean, they did the spot with Tekla out of the ring with Okada, as in Taro Okada, the booker for All Japan Women, and in Stardom. And Stardom, the deal was with Stardom is when Tekla left to go to AEW, they had constructed a feud between the two of them, and he suspended her and fired her and all that stuff, and they try to teach, do it as a shoot. So Okada is there in the front row. And so they did that, which a lot of people didn't understand, especially in Mexico. But I thought that was pretty cool to play up the Mexico angle, in this match. It ended up with Persephone. By the end, so the last couple of minutes were really great. It ended up with Persephone in there with Tekla and I believe Sky Blue. And she had to overcome the odds and beat both of them, which she did. And the place went pretty nuts for her. They had the Arena Mexico last night was a sellout for the Halloween night show. Not a surprise. I expected a pretty big crowd. They had the Sky Team back, in the main event with was it Hitchcock Volador and the third person would have been, I think, Cavernario again. And I have not seen that match. I heard it was really good. I saw everything up to it, and it was, it wasn't a great show. The Teton match, that match was pretty good. Teton was fantastic though, and they did get the crowd shaking the building, which was pretty impressive. So that was good. Guerrero Maya Jr. ended up winning the Ray Del Inframundo Championship, which is defended at the end of October or first week of November every year once. It was a four-way. Over Defunto was the champion, and that had its moments. There was some cool stuff by Defunto, but I didn't really think that it. Overall, it was all right. It was good. So, and then tonight at Coliseo, which I haven't seen obviously, but they had another sellout tonight, which I expected that they would because they had it was a strong lineup for a Saturday night show. So Teton and Volador was one of the main events, and Mystica was in the main event. So that was gonna draw pretty good.
All right, what do we got ratings wise?
Well, it is what it is. NXT did 527, 0.07, against the World Series. And then a Dynamite did 465, 0.08 against the World Series and the NBA. That's the nature of the new panel ratings. Panel and data, big data. Wrestling is going to look bad. I presume that the Friday show is not going to do that great either. But I don't think it's going to be hurt. I don't think it will hurt as bad as compared to the week before as other years where the Halloween numbers were down 30%, just because the audience is so old watching the TV show right now. So I don't think that the trick-or-treating is going to hurt with that audience as much. When the audience was a lot younger, Halloween would be a terrible night for WWE ratings. But, it's still going to hurt it. And obviously the sixth game of the World Series, probably hurt. Tonight was brutal. You couldn't have had a more exciting game. It was just incredible. It was going against Saturday night main event, whatever. That audience was going to be way, way down against this World Series game anyway. And obviously collisions by all rights, between the panel data and Saturday night's main event and the World Series and the other, and I think there's 6 football games. I think by all rights, it should be the lowest in its time slot in history. Especially, it just pretty much can't help but be, I think.
All right, what's going on with Tank Davis?
So what happened, Jake Paul and Tank Davis were going to have that ridiculous exhibition thing in Miami on the 14th of November, and it is not happening most likely. It has not been officially announced it's not happening, but everyone knows that they're desperately trying to get a new opponent. Tank Davis on, I believe it was a couple days ago, got sued by an ex-girlfriend for, beating her up. he has a long list of arrests when it comes to women. This was another. She also went to police to press criminal charges to go along with the civil charges. The promotion, MVP Promotions, sent out a press release earlier today where they basically said that they're investigating the situation. But it's more than investigating the situation. They're looking for a new opponent. They talked about Ryan Garcia, which is another ridiculous fight because Ryan Garcia actually fought Tank Davis and, Gervonta Davis. And, Ryan Garcia usually fights between 140 and 147. So it's still a ridiculous fight. But that's not going to happen, according to Oscar De La Hoya, who said that, Garcia is in with the zone. He's not going to fight on Netflix. So a bunch of names have come up, including Nate Diaz, who Jake Paul has already fought. And there was Francis Ngannou, which is quite the interesting name, and Terrence Crawford as well, which is, those are the names that have been talked about. They've talked about maybe having to move it to December so one of these guys can get ready. So that fiasco of a fight is going to be replaced by another fiasco of a fight, most likely. But it's the Netflix thing, so there's not really much else to that.
All right, Gable Steveson made his boxing debut.
Dirty boxing, so it's not...
One quick.
Yeah, so dirty boxing is essentially boxing, but they don't do knockdowns. Like in boxing, if you knock the guy down, there's, the 10 count knockout, right? Or you can call for a standing 8 count. So in this one, if you knock the guy down, you can go down and you can ground and pound him, but you cannot wrestle him and you cannot put him in a submission hold. And I thought this is like, for Gable Steveson, it's just kind of like, he's a wrestler going into MMA. And I guess the idea was to sell him with the idea that he's not going to be just a wrestler. So they got a guy who, obviously they knew he could beat, guy who was lost his last 4 fights by knockout, I believe. Steveson clipped him with a uppercut. He has good power. There's no doubt about it. The one thing, people were watching this and, he won in 15 seconds. So people were watching this and going, oh my God, he's going to be the next UFC heavyweight champion. And it's like, put the brakes on, you know what I mean? This was like, he didn't fight a guy he fought a guy that he was going to beat. He didn't show anything other than he has a good uppercut. Knocked the guy down, landed some punches on the ground. Mick Maynard, who's one of the matchmakers for UFC, was there and basically said he wanted into UFC. And UFC heavyweight division needs somebody who's a name right now. But I don't think that he should be rushed in there. I think it's no matter what a great athlete, obviously he's a great athlete, that goes without saying. But it's like he needs to get experience because with UFC, if you go into UFC, even though the heavyweight division isn't stacked, there's a lot of guys who are very, very experienced at this game. And he is not. He can take down everyone, no doubt. But you're going to get guys who aren't easily finished, and he just and he may come up to adversity. I think that he still needs some time because the problem with UFC is that if you get in there and you get a win or two, there's all this pressure to put you against somebody good, like what happened with Bo Nickel, where they put him against Rainer DeRitter. And it was like, Bo Nickel had looked really, really good. But all of a sudden when he fought guys that were better, you started seeing that, he had a ways to go. As great a wrestler as he was, it's similar. It's a similar thing, and he learned submissions. That said, if Gable Steveson can learn to master submissions, he can take everyone down. I mean, his weakness would be a really good submission guy where he wants to stand up, who may not be, basically what Rainer DeRitter was in a lot of ways. A guy who's a better stand-up fighter. But I mean that, if he's not rushed and he gets time to develop his striking skills, and if he turns out to be a good striker, which is hard to know at this stage of the game, but the submission skills to me is the one that he really should be working on, because if he can avoid submissions on the ground and he can do submissions on the ground, he can get everyone to the ground. I mean, there's no one that he won't be able to get to the ground I would think. So, the thing with Bo Nickel was, he was in there with a guy who he didn't want to take to the ground because the guy was a better submission guy than he was. So to me, that's what he should be working on. But of course, he's got to work on his striking and everything as well. But I mean, it's an intriguing thing, and he's a name guy in the sense that he can come in and he'll have hype and things like that. And I'm sure he will wind up in UFC, and and there, the potential's obviously there for an athlete at that level, because I mean, heavyweight division, it's not a deep division compared to lightweight and all that. So, a guy like Curtis Blades did really, really well, as predominantly a wrestler, and obviously Gable Steveson as a wrestler, blows away anyone in that division.
All right, so we got a couple of TV shows here to talk about. The biggest thing from SmackDown, besides the main event angle, was the Ilya Dragunov-Nathan Frazier match, which was freaking great. Great match. They did have a spot near the end where they were up on the top rope, and Ilya cuts him off, and Frazier's sitting on the top rope facing outside, and Ilya goes behind like he's going to do a German. And I think as he was grabbing him, he kind of lost his balance a little bit, and so he kind of held on to Frazier to not fall down. And I think Frazier thought that meant go, because he went, and it wasn't time, and this freaking guy landed right on his head off the middle rope. And Corey Graves just freaked out, and he screamed, "Stop it! Stop the match right now!" And the ref got in there, and I guess he figured the guy was alive because he didn't stop it. And they managed to keep working, and he seemed fine. But man, if you see this bump, it was scary. And
they did in the match last weekend with Dominic Mysterio and Dragon Lee. You know that spot that Dragon Lee always does, where he jumps over the top rope into the Tijeras to the floor?
Yeah.
So he did that, and he slipped off, and he went straight down head first. And I thought, oh my God. But either one of two things. I mean, either Dominic Mysterio is just totally impromptu figured out what to do, which I don't think it was, but maybe. I mean, he didn't miss a beat. He went right to work on the head and everything. And after I watched it, and seeing what he was working on and everything, it was like they actually planned that spot. I mean, because at first I thought, oh my God, what a botch. But it's there was seamless. It was nothing. The ref goes down to the check for a second. But I mean, Dominic isn't even waiting for the ref, right? He just shoves the ref out of the wing. When he shoved the ref out of the way and just started pounding on the guy, I was Dragon Lee actually did that on his own, I think. So that was pretty amazing. They also reminded me that, so in the match last night with the Rey Del Inframundo match, Defunto runs up the ropes, okay, turns around, lands on the ropes, right? So he's running up like you're going to do a superplex or something, or run up to do the elbow or something. So he runs up, flips around, lands on his feet, runs down the ropes, and then after running the ropes does basically a drop kick. And then the second time he does the exact same spot and comes off the ropes, and he was met with a super kick or something. It was really, really, something new that I'd never seen before.
So in the end, and this was actually very shortly after he landed on his head, they somewhat quickly went to the finish. Frazier ended up kicking out of actually the middle rope suplex was the one that almost killed him. And then Dragunov ended up hitting a power bomb, hit the H-bomb, got the pin. And then afterwards, Tommaso Ciampa attacked Frazier. Axiom and Johnny Gargano came down to make the save. We got a big brawl. And there had been a thing earlier when the open challenge started. Frazier came out, but then Ciampa ran past him to get into the ring, and he tried to steal his open challenge spot, but basically Dragunov told him that guy was here first, so Ciampa called him a coward. So it looks like probably Ciampa, I would guess, will accept the challenge next week, and we've also got tag matches coming, but they did announce another open challenge for Ilya Dragunov next week.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the impression is they're going to do that every week.
So then we had Kit Wilson and Carmelo Hayes, which of course Carmelo won, and then The Miz attacked Hayes afterwards, and so I guess that feud's going to continue.
Mm-hmm.
I had hoped it was over. We had Nia Jax and Alexa Bliss, which Alexa Bliss won after Charlotte distracted Nia. Match was all right. You know, it was a David and Goliath match. Nothing wrong with it. It wasn't a great match or anything, but it was fine. And then the MFTs faced the Motor City Machine Guns, which was a good match. And Solo ended up distracting Tongaloa. Or, I'm sorry, he distracted the babyface's Tongaloa, dropped Shelley off the top, and then hit his hidden blade, which he calls the Cutthroat. And so they got the win. They attacked the Machine Guns afterwards. Rey Fenix and Shinsuke Nakamura ran down to make the save, but they got killed as well. So that was that. Next week on the show, it's Tala Tonga versus Rey Fenix, and Ilya Dragunov's Open Challenge, and Charlotte Flair versus Nia Jax. So that was the SmackDown show. What did you watch from Collision?
I mean, I watched most of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Opened up with Takeshi and Okada versus Caster and Bowens, and the match was fine, but
I mean, the match wasn't there to be a great match. The match was there to be a backdrop for both teams fighting each other.
I know, but it was irritating to me because Takeshi and Okada is like the best feud, really, in all of AEW. They've done the best job building up this match where you really want to see these guys fight.
Mm-hmm.
And they put him in there with the worst feud in AEW. And really, like, the story was more about Caster and Bowens fighting than the other two.
Yeah.
So I didn't like them overshadowing the really good angle with this not-so-good angle. But anyway, obviously Okada and Takeshita won. Okada hit the Rainmaker on both Bowens and Caster. And then tried the same. Actually went to do it on Max, but Takeshita shoved him out of the way and hit his finish for the pin. And so they don't like each other. Okada flipped him off during the match. Yet they still work together. They still beat these other two geeks. And that was that. So it's a slow build. We had Mercedes and Olympia for the CMLL women's title with Chris Statlander on commentary. And it's a pretty good match. I thought,
you know that this was Olympia's 14th singles match of her career.
You've got to be kidding me.
Mm-hmm. She's got a lot of potential.
She was very impressive here. And it wasn't even that she was so good in the ring. I mean, she was fine in the ring. But what was most impressive was they brought in a lot of outsiders. And she got over bigger in this one match than most of them. I mean, these fans were really into her. And they got in all of her spots, and she had charisma. I mean, she did a great job here.
She does some good stuff. She does some good stuff. A lot of it's Mercedes. Mercedes carried her, but she, of the CMLL younger women, I mean, she's, she blows them away. She's going to be, I think that she's going to be a star. She's got a lot,
A lot of this, I mean, yes, obviously Mercedes did a lot, but I mean, Mercedes was in there with Caden Carter, who's been around forever, and Olympia was way more impressive than she was.
Caden Carter was a better wrestler, but the Caden Carter thing was just the people weren't into the match. They just weren't.
Yeah, they didn't care about her, and they didn't really.
But this one, Olympia, when she came out, the deal was this. It was a heavy Mexican audience, and they saw an authentic CMLL star, not star, but authentic CMLL wrestler, challenging for the title. And they got into the idea of it. So it was, I think that like in Florida, they expected Kaden Carter, or whatever, Lacey Lane, they expected her to be over, and she wasn't. In this case, they booked someone to be over, and she was.
Well, I think another part of it was when Kaden Carter, or whatever her name was, when she wrestled
Lacey
Mercedes, it was for the TNT title, or the TBS title, and there wasn't one person that thought she'd win the TBS title. With the CMLL women's title in Olympia, I think most people probably didn't think she was going to win, but it was the CMLL title. And so I think there's at least the possibility, when you're watching the match, that maybe somebody from CMLL will actually win back the CMLL title.
Yeah.
But if it had been Olympia versus Mercedes for the TBS title, nobody was going to buy that one.
Yeah, it would have been the same match. But the thing is that she wasn't going to win. She's not at that level where she would win the CMLL title. She's not one of the top women wrestlers in that company at all. But this was her showcase. And, Mercedes, she came out after, Mercedes had beaten Persephone. And, they made a big deal about it. They, at Arena Mexico, they made a big deal about it on AEW TV. They gave her the squash win over Taya. So it was built up. It was built up well. So that was part of it, too.
And then we had Matt and Nick being interviewed about losing on Dynamite. Don Callis shows up and he says, I just got done talking to Tony Khan and negotiated $1 million tag match. $1 million for Full Gear. It is Josh Alexander and the Young Bucks versus Jurassic Express and Kenny Omega. He promises he'll make them rich one more time, and they are not thrilled.
They weren't happy about it, which is interesting.
Well, they've lost confidence, it seems.
Yeah, but it also felt like they didn't want to wrestle Kenny Omega because
there is that as well.
Yeah, so they may be building up to where they get back with Kenny Omega. Well, at some point they will, obviously. I think that goes without saying, just a question of when. But it's an excuse to do the match and then have Kenny Omega in something in a 6-man tag on the pay-per-view. We've already seen from the last one, they're going to kill it, I mean, that's what they're there for, to have a match and to kill it. And so you're going to get another match like that on the pay-per-view.
We had Nixon Newell and Miranda Alizé versus Megan Bain and Marina Shafir, and of course it was a squash match.
Yeah, they didn't do anything really to
well, they shouldn't. It's 2 women in the tournament and 2 women who aren't. They squashed them. Moxley on commentary. He does not like silly shit in his matches, and he made that clear.
Yeah, it was interesting because in Nixon Newell and Miranda Alizé, it's for years and years and years. There have been women who have wanted to do the thing where the women kiss and everything like that and their lovers and all that. And Tony and Mina are doing that, actually. But in this case, it's like, this is not ambiguous. This is not teased. This is just their lovers, and that's it. They were kissing in the match, and it wasn't done in a WWE way, you know what I mean? Where it's, oh my God, look at this, or for shock value or anything. They were just doing it. It was really interesting because for so long it was like, oh, the lesbian stuff, we can do that, and it's going to do all this. And this one, they did it. I mean, they didn't do it for ratings. They didn't do it to shock people. It was just there. And, whatever, that's fine. I was just surprised at that in some ways.
We have the announcement that Blood and Guts is a week from Wednesday, and they announced the women's teams. It will be
6.
Tekla, Sky Blue, Julia Hart, Megan Bain, Marina, and Mercedes against Jamie Hayter, Queen Aminata, Willow Nightingale, Harley Cameron, Toni Storm, and Chris Statlander.
Yeah.
Definitely an all-star lineup of the women.
Well, they got Toni Storm and Mercedes in there, so no Athena, but they got most of the a lot of the top women in there. That'll be an interesting one. Blood and Guts usually does do good numbers, and this time you're doing 2, not 1. So The men's one isn't as strong as the men's ones in the past have been, but it is the first women's one on the show, and you do got Tony Storm, Chris Statlander, and Mercedes, who are like the big stars of the women.
We had Commander Mark Briscoe and Roderick Strong versus La Facción. This is a party match of the evening, and it was very fun. All sorts of great spots. Everybody looked great. Trilistico and Hologram were awesome early, and Mark Briscoe and Beast Mortos.
Commander, Hologram.
Hologram.
Hologram had knee surgery.
Commander and Trilistico did great. And finally, at the end, Commander, I wrote Hologram 15 times, hit a diving reverse run on the Beast Mortos. Everybody hit a big move on everybody else. Briscoe hit the J Driller on Trilistico, got the pin. Very fun match. We had Hook and Eddie Kingston backstage, and some just rando asks Hook, "Why'd you give up so quick on Wednesday?" And Hook says, "In the dojo, when you get caught, you're caught. You live to fight another day." And they announced that there's going to be a trios title match.
No, non-title.
Is it non-title?
They specifically said non-title.
All right, it was coming up on Wednesday with Hook and Eddie Kingston.
And Adam Page.
So I guess probably that means they're winning. It's non-title.
Not necessarily.
It's a title match for later.
Because sometimes there's so many times where you go, "Oh, it's non-title, they're going to win," and then they lose, and I think, why'd they make it non-title?
I think they're going to give. I bet you $50 they give Hook his win back on Wednesday.
On Joe? No fucking way.
I didn't say on Joe. He's going to get his win back. He's going to get a win on one of these guys. That's my prediction.
Wouldn't be on Hobbs. Certainly it shouldn't be on Joe. So.
Then we had MXM Collection and the Gun Club. So there was Game 7 of the World Series tonight, Dave. Did you know that?
I sure did.
Allegedly, it was an incredible game.
It was an incredible game.
I anticipate that this segment did 0 viewers. That's my prediction.
Yeah. It was. It will go down in history. It was a game that will go down in history. 11 innings and home run. Saving the game when they thought that Toronto had won, and yeah.
So Gun Club won. I don't think anyone in the world watched this match, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Then they announced, of course, Male Blood and Guts, Death Riders versus Darby, Mark Briscoe, Orange Cassidy, Roderick Strong, and Kyle O'Reilly. And that led us to the main event of Bandito and Masquerade Dorada for the Ring of Honor World title. This was the best Collision main event in a long time. Just a fantastic match. Of course, Bandito was still selling the bad shoulder. Sold like crazy for Dorado. They had so many awesome spots. This crowd is going wild for this match. Just going crazy for it. And near the end, Bandito flipped him up into this power bomb, which the people went crazy for. Had a double down, bunch of cradles. The only issue with this match is that the fans loved the action. They loved the two guys. They loved the big spots. They did not think Dorada had a chance of winning. He would do these cradles at the end, and there's no pop for him. Cradle, 1, 2, no pop. Cradle, 1, 2, no pop. Flip into a power bomb, go crazy. But the actual near falls, they didn't think this guy was winning. And so Dorada countered a powerbomb into a Hurricane Rana. Bandito rolled through into a cradle. And then he hit a knee strike, 21 plex, got the pin, retained the Ring of Honor title. And this match, very much worth going out of your way to see. It was an excellent, excellent main event. And Day of the Dead. So they headlined with a lucha match for Bandito's title. There you go. All right, let's do some mailbag questions here. We got a little bit of time. This person here says, let's see. During the bodybuilding speech that you gave a couple of days ago, were Private Party the guys you were talking about that got jacked and he was concerned about losing speed, agility, etc.? Because Mark...
Not specifically. I mean, it's Mark Quinn's gigantic, yeah.
But I mean, they're both gigantic, but they're not on TV.
Yeah.
They vanished.
Well, they can come back as new people now that they're all jacked. But, is that a good thing? It's like the whole thing with Private Party is that, they were cool because they did all these moves. And they have to be new people. Now, that's one of those things the old school wrestlers, it's, one of those things that was always drummed in their head. You got to be big. You got to be big. But for a lot of guys, like today, it doesn't really matter. I mean, I can't say until I see the guys back wrestling, I can't say that it's good or bad, right? But I've seen a lot of guys that get jacked and it's not good for them. In many ways, they get too. Everyone's got their best athletic size, and when you get too big for your size, number one, you get a lot of injuries. That goes without saying. And the other one is that you lose aspects of your athleticism and your conditioning when you weigh too much for your body frame. So it's just, but some people can handle it. So like Brian Cage can handle it. Some people, they end up just not being what they were and what their calling card was. Again, if you're a big, slow guy, it probably helps you to get jacked, so at least you look impressive doing it. But if you're a quick flying guy, it's not necessarily the best thing for you, and probably isn't the best thing for you. So we have to see. But no, I wasn't.
The most notable one in history is like Rey Mysterio.
But Rey Mysterio you're right about Rey Mysterio, but Rey Mysterio always was able to wrestle at a certain level. The one that I think is the most notable is Davey Boy Smith, who was like this incredible athletic wrestler who got so big that he just didn't do anything. And that was not for the better for him at all.
All right, this person says, I've reached my breaking point. I've been to most of the European PLEs WWE has held. Their most recent UK SmackDown tickets averaged £300, especially in the month after...
So that's like almost $400.
Especially in the month after AEW does two shows at a more reasonable price in December with AEW Dynamite and Collision, when people are able to travel. Is there a point at which this bubble will burst?
Not burst, but there's, if they're overpriced, they're going to have to take the prices down. They're going to do what the market will bear, and
they're not going to get to the point where they're drawing 1,000 fans because tickets are too high. They will lower prices if need be.
Then they'll lower prices long before that. I mean,
Yes.
the thing about ticket prices today is that the secondary market teaches you the ticket price, because if you I give you an example. Like the Savannah Bananas keep their ticket prices really, really low as a marketing strategy for the idea that we're not greedy like all these other sports owners. Okay, sounds great. The only problem is that scalpers know this, and the scalpers get triple the ticket price for Savannah Bananas games. So it's like you don't really accomplish anything other than make the scalpers rich. I mean, it's like. The key is why these prices have gone up is because the secondary market, especially like with WWE, WWE comes into a city, and if they're going to sell out right away or get 10,000 tickets in the first day, a lot is the secondary market. And the secondary market is looking at this, and they're not always right. But with WWE, they've obviously been right because tickets prices have continued to go up based on, and TKO, when they come, back and they go like, oh my God, the scalpers got more, then we should be raising our prices. So even though they have deals with the scalpers, who are able to get the tickets first, and then they kind of share. So it's kind of a weird deal. I don't know if WWE has, but people have had this, and WWE probably has some deal with. I'm almost positive they deal with StubHub, but the whole thing is that like. That determines your price, is what your price is to the public, because you're going to see it. The scalpers can be wrong. They can buy a whole bunch and not be able to unload them. And then you know that it was priced too high. I mean, too high. So, that's what's going to do it. When the scalpers can't unload the tickets, or they stop buying the tickets, then you're going to have more, what we're having right now in a lot of these markets is the scalpers aren't jumping in because the prices are so high. They think that we can't make money on these tickets, so we're not going to buy them. And so, the advances are low. And so eventually WWE will lower the prices, the last couple of weeks, because they have tickets to sell. So it's a law of supply and demand. It's not like, it's just what it is. It's a law of supply and demand. And the secondary market teaches you what the value of the ticket is, and they're going to price accordingly. And if it's lower, they have to lower the ticket prices. That's what the whole law of supply and demand is all about.
This person says, with some people doubting that Seth Rollins is actually injured and trust in WWE backstage declining as a result, do you think WWE will be more cautious about doing a fake injury angle in the future?
No, not at all.
Clearly not, because they're doing one with Sol Ruca.
Yeah, no, not at all. That's pro wrestling. Pro wrestling does fake injury angles all the time.
But this one's real.
The Seth Rollins one's real. Yeah,
yes.
He's out for 6 months, yeah.
All right, this person says, what happened to the Creed brothers when they were in NXT?
They're on main event all the time. They're just not being put on TV right now because they got no Chad Gable to talk for them, and they're not pushing them. It's weird, Julius Creed went from the darling of all the darlings, to just not even being put on TV.
I presume they will be back somewhat soon.
Well, I mean, they're there. They're there at all the tapings. They're on main event.
This person here says, anything going on with Jim Ross and AEW? He's not been in the last 2 pay-per-views. Also wasn't used when AEW did the Jacksonville TV tapings, given he lives in the area.
Well, he's back in Oklahoma, I think. I'm not sure of that, but, I presume that it's a health issue. I mean, if he's not going to not be at the pay-per-views, if it's not a health issue. So it's, whatever it is, he has not talked about it. I've had a little contact with him, and he hasn't said anything about it. He's actually avoided the subject. So I don't know what's going on with him.
This person says, Fightful reported Ridge Holland was not paid extra for his TNA appearances that WWE booked him for. Does the same thing apply for TNA talents that are booked for NXT?
If you're on a guaranteed contract, then no. If you're on a per date deal, then yes. All WWE talent is on a guaranteed annual contract, and they book you out. So no, you would not get paid extra for those dates. If you're on a TNA guaranteed contract and you